as Science Club introduced, let me again introduce. Nikhil is the math major student of batch of 2020, and he I think you did your yeah, he did his MS in at IISER only, and
Mm.
he has worked his internships at other colleges, and then he worked at Ocean Frogs for 1 year, and now he is at Sub Security as a data scientist, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a very important perspective for a lot of us, because most of us thinks that the job perspective after our fifth year is quite it's not that much. IISER Pune don't give that much of recognition. So
Yeah.
so it would be really interesting to talk to you and know like how you reach there and how you basically make your mind during your IISER. So first of all, let's start with how was your IISER life in general, and how did it go, and then we can basically take we can keep taking the questions from audience.
Yeah. I think my life at IISER was pretty good. I enjoyed my 5 years there. And the main reason I stayed in IISER during my fifth year was I wanted to spend my final year in Pune. So that maybe tells you how much I enjoyed Pune.
Amazing, yeah.
So yeah. Mm, so I think the profs were good, the environment was good, there were nice people around. I think the environment was pretty intellectual, so I enjoyed that too. And that helped me learn a lot of stuff, academically, non-academically, everything.
Right. Hmm. And so maths was the choice from the start itself, right? Ki, you have to do maths, or like you how did you choose maths?
I chose it during my first year.
Uh-huh.
So we used to have these. So you might not know this prof called KP Mohanan. I'm not sure if he still
Yeah,
teaches.
yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a linguist and he used to teach us during our first semester. It was a creditless course for us. It was Introduction to Research. And
Okay.
there he used to talk about the philosophy behind math, also biology. And that was when I had thought ki I'll be majoring in math later on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then did you shift to data science from
Uh,
there itself, or like when did you decided ki you want to do? So
I
basically, let's ask a question of this kind: ki why did you not decide to do the standard academia stuff,
Yeah.
basically?
So initially, my mind was that I would be going for pure math,
Mhm.
and all my projects and everything were either in algebra or number theory so far, till
Okay.
my actually till my thesis as well.
Okay.
So the thing was, I started having this feeling that maybe I was not really so good at math, in the sense that to do something original, I felt that I was not so good at it. I could pass the courses, do well at them, and all that was fine. But I thought that to do real pure math, I mean, in the research, in the academia,
Right.
I think that involved a lot of dedication. And basically, it just felt like I had to give my whole life to it. And I thought this is not something I wanted to do.
Right.
So
Right.
I started thinking that I wanted to switch from number theory to, let's say, data science. And this started when during my summers in the third year.
Third year. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but it was just a thought. I was not sure about it.
Hmm.
Finally, I made my decision when I started working on my thesis. That was
Right.
when I finally decided and told my advisor that I'll be switching.
So how did you start it? Like how did you start? So I think the first step should be the would be the course on data science offered at IISER. But how did you approach
Yeah,
the
I didn't take that course because uh, it it clashed with some other course that I wanted to take.
yeah.
But I did a lot of courses on Coursera. A lot of
Okay.
courses on Coursera.
Okay.
Then I read this standard book called ISLR, which is
Right.
actually the textbook prescribed in that course we're talking about.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Sure. Hmm.
so, yeah, all those things. I did some dummy projects on data science and machine
So
learning.
so you basically explored like how is it looking, and are you enjoying it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, that's, and then your fifth year was on based on data science, right?
No, no. My fifth year was in number theory and algebraic geometry.
Okay, so okay, so this is a really good point. So then when you applied at Ocean Frogs, like this pure maths background, like ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ क्या कि
Actually,
it's kind of hurdle or something?
actually, to be honest, IISER Pune, this brand name helped me,
Uh-huh. Right.
and in both of my jobs when I was applying, and even the math background helped me because the CEO of Ocean Frogs, he had an applied math PhD. So he preferred people who came from a math background. And my current team at Safe Security, there are currently 8 members. 6 of them either have a math background or an actuarial science background.
So like you can, so what, like are you saying that, I mean, it doesn't really matter that much ki what you have, if
Uh,
you want to shift to something like data science,
I
wo-
think there are clear disadvantages. We don't have placements at IISER,
Mhm, mhm.
and so we don't have placements here, which clearly puts you at a disadvantage because to get
Right,
into any good company, they
right.
always usually take people from all these college placements, right? So that is one disadvantage that IISER Pune people have. But you can compensate it by applying to startups because a lot of startups do not really go for college placements, especially let's say the smaller startups.
So you worked at startup, the ocean, like
Both of them are startups.
both of them are
The
startups, right?
first one is the Ocean Frogs is a very small startup. When I joined, there were around 20 people, I think.
Oh,
And
okay.
my current Safe Security, the current startup, it has around 200 to 50 people. So
Oh,
both of them are quite small.
right. Yeah, so the opportunity is there in startups basically.
Yeah, it's easier to get into them if you somehow get contacts and everything. So when I was thinking of switching and applying for jobs,
Mhm.
it was then that I approached a lot of IISER Pune seniors, not even IISER Pune, IISER Mohali, IISER Bhopal, and so on. And
Right,
they
right.
also gave me some perspective. So who
Mm,
were working in data science.
right.
So actually, another thing is even though I had decided I wanted to switch to data science, but till I was about to graduate, I think the second last month, I had already applied for a PhD in deep learning, and I was going for one. But then
Okay.
COVID happened, and it was not a PhD per se; it was a pre-PhD internship.
Okay.
So I was supposed to go there and decide on a thesis topic. But then COVID happened and it got indefinitely postponed. And then I was like, okay, maybe I don't want to do this. Instead, I'll just work for now.
Right. Right. So now you're pretty like chill about your decision ki this is what you want to do.
I want to do this, but I do also want to study more. So I'll be going
Right.
for another master's next year, I think,
Right.
most
Right.
probably.
Right. So Atharva asks, how did you get your first job and what was the selection procedures?
Uh, so I applied on a job posting that they had posted. It was for data scientist or data analyst, one of them,
Okay.
and it was pretty chill because it was a small startup. So actually, the CEO he asked me for my thesis PDF.
Okay.
He ended up never reading it, but I think he just wanted to see how much complex stuff I had done. And then he asked me some basic probability questions, some normal data analysis questions, and so on. It was a pretty, it was just one stage, I think, just one stage.
Okay.
But the second one had more. I think the second one had 5 stages.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that was about it.
No, like I would ask ki, like I think you mentioned it when we talked earlier. Like there are some websites which you applied to, right? I mean, you used to websites where you used to look for the
Yeah,
job.
there was LinkedIn, but I didn't get. I think I did not get even a single reply on LinkedIn because I think
Okay,
LinkedIn is not good for freshers.
right.
And then I applied on this another job posting site called Angel.co, which is specifically for startups.
Okay,
And startups put up job postings over there. So I got my first job through Angel.co.
okay.
And when it was about my second job, then I got it from LinkedIn.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, how would you like, how would you apply for a job? Like, what do you require a kind of different CV from what we
Yeah.
usually prepare in academia?
Yeah, I have two different CVs. So the one that is used for jobs, it has to be one page CV.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the focus is different. You wouldn't talk about the projects you have done. Rather, you would talk about, you would somehow glorify them in an industrial sense, right? You will talk about the machine learning component, or let's say, even though linear algebra was one of my first projects at IISER, and it was so basic, I wouldn't even talk about it in my academic CV, but it looked good on my industrial CV because I think they wouldn't know what algebraic geometry is, but they would know, oh, he has done linear algebra. It's relevant for machine learning.
Right.
So you have to do all these things there.
Right. So right. So yeah, I mean there is one question which I received on WhatsApp. So like she is saying ki, can you describe what's your job look like? Like what,
Okay.
yeah, what do you do?
Okay. So at Ocean Frogs, it was sort of data science. In data science, it was a lot of NLP. So I did a couple of projects in NLP, some time series analysis, and some basic machine learning algorithms like clustering and so on. And a lot of it was just business. So we would have clients, they would have certain requirements, and we have to convert them into. So we have this product,
No,
and we have.
can you so first of all can you tell what Ocean Frog does?
Yeah. Okay. So it's an IT company. It works in marketing. So basically, what they do is they scrape a lot of data from online, and they sell this data to the marketing departments of the companies, so
Okay.
that they can do their marketing better. So basically, they sell data for marketing purposes.
Okay. Okay.
So if a new client comes and they have some business requirements, so we had to convert them into, let's say, more of, we have to somehow fit them into what we were doing, right? Because their requirements can be very vague. They might not even make sense in this perspective of what we are doing.
Right.
And to be honest, the two jobs I have done till now, they were not per se data science. I think a lot of job postings that goes around in India and I think even abroad, they mention data science, but a lot of times you don't end up working in data science.
Okay.
So in my first one, I still did a couple of NLP projects, which was still fine. And in the second one that I joined around 3 months back, here I haven't worked on any data science project till now. It is mostly some statistics modeling, and they already have a model. We have to implement it in Python and host it on AWS. So
Okay.
basically, it's a lot of software dev work too. I think this is how data science ends up being. It will either be pure data science, which I think are less in number, those kinds of jobs.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but that is my perception as of now. And there are a lot of software dev work. Like even if
Right.
you are working in deep learning, I think there are a lot of software dev roles related to deep learning. But I'm not so sure. I've just worked in two companies so far.
Right. Right. Shushruth asks, what sort of roadmap would you suggest to IISER Pune students wanting to become data scientists?
Okay. Uh, so if you talk about the skills you need to know, I think no, someone mentioned SQL in the chat I just saw. So knowing SQL is very important. I used SQL a lot during my first job, not so much in my second one. So SQL is super important. Apart from that, there are, of course, machine learning, statistics, and all these are important. And apart from that, if you know some dashboarding skills, that's nice too. So for example, if you know Tableau or Google Data Studio or Power BI, one of them at least, that's helpful too. I mean, you might not need all these things, but the thing is, if you need them, you just have to learn them on the job. And so, for example, in my current job, I use a lot of software dev stuff, right? And a lot of AWS too. So AWS is a cloud computing technology
Yeah.
by Amazon. So I don't know any of these things. So I'm learning all of these things on the job. So I think there's a lot of stuff in data science because the role can vary. It can be from a business perspective, data science perspective, software dev perspective. So there are a lot of things, but something like SQL, Python, machine learning, statistics, these are must. Tableau is good too.
So, like either you do it on something like Coursera or something, or maybe you can start learning it your own, basically.
Yeah, just learn them somehow. And
So,
it's
so,
good if you have a couple of projects, dummy projects that you can put up on your CV and discuss about them in your interviews.
so you went from this maths stream, right? So does the project that you get even remotely depend on what discipline you come from? So, for example, there is a biology student who wants to go in data science, so there's a
Not,
chemistry student. Does
I
that
wouldn't
matter?
say so because Like when I was looking for a job, the people I talked with, one of them he was a senior. I think he graduated from IISER Pune or Bhopal, I'm not sure. And he had a chemistry background. And he worked when I talked to him, he was working as a data scientist and he had like 3 or 4 years of experience. Similarly, when I was at Ocean Frogs, there were actually 3 or 4 people from IISER who were working
Oh,
there along with me.
okay,
So
okay.
one of them had a physics major.
Uh-huh.
He was 3 years senior to me, and currently he's at another startup. He works as a business analyst now.
Okay.
Then there were two batchmates of mine. One was from applied math background, one was from bioinformatics background.
Okay.
Both of them were in similar, one was in product role, one was in data science role. And the product one is in finance right now. And the bioinformatics, she is in investment management, I think, currently. So you can do all kinds of things. A major is not an issue.
Right. Right. Somebody asked, "Are you happy with the job?"
Uh, Honestly, I don't think so.
Okay. Why? Why? Can
It's,
you share?
I think it's not intellectual.
Hmm.
I sometimes feel that I learned a lot of stuff at IISER, and I think I enjoyed it. But now when I look at jobs, it's my current job is a lot of software dev, right? And I just feel like I was trying to run away from engineering, and now I'm doing engineering. That's
Oh.
how it feels like.
So it's more like it's kind of a computer engineering job.
It's a mixture. I still do a lot of stats work. For example, there's a PhD guy from ISI Kolkata who is my senior at the company,
Uh-huh.
and we both of us are supposed to improve the current model. So both of us are together learning Bayesian statistics, and we have presentations. So we have to present to the whole team about what we are learning.
Right.
So we are doing all that research kind of work too. Like we are
Mm.
learning Bayesian statistics, and we have to improve the model. But then at the same time, we have a lot of software dev work too. I think this is the case in data science everywhere. So because the thing is, you will do a lot of research work, you will do a lot of data science, but at the end, you have to put it into production as well, right? The model you created, if the end user can't use it, then it's of no use.
Right.
So you would need to know a lot of computer science to put it into production.
Right.
If it's a hardcore data science role.
Okay.
So my current role is like I have to design the API contract. I have to design how exactly the client is going to send us their data, and then I have to implement the model that there is. The current model is very simple. For example, the client wants, and then so let's say they have sent us the data, and then I have to figure out how exactly they will be hitting our endpoint on. So our code is hosted on AWS, right? And we have an endpoint there, and they will be hitting the endpoint, and then they will get the results back. So it's basically an end-to-end job,
Hmm.
starting from designing the API to getting the data via the endpoint.
Right.
So yeah, and I have learned all this on my job. I didn't know a lot of this before starting to work at safe security. So
Okay.
there will always be this thing that you will have
So
to learn a lot.
learning is there, but but it's not that intellectual is what you are saying.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's more of engineering kind of
right.
stuff. That's what I feel. So I think that there are a lot of jobs that will involve intellectual work. Like there is this role at Amazon called applied scientist. I think there's a lot of such roles that I think are nice. It's just that I haven't got to work in such roles. So, and the thing is, uh, I think it's kind of difficult to judge when you are joining, because when I was applying to safe security, they even asked me for stochastic processes if I knew stochastic processes. I have no idea why they asked me,
Okay.
because currently I'm not doing anything remotely similar.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of difficult to
Okay.
judge.
Okay. Yeah. So a request for all of you. I mean, it's not mandatory that you put your questions in the chat box. You can, show yourself. You can ask. You can just talk. It's a live interactive session. So you can just unmute and talk to him. That's not an issue.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Bhushan.
Yes, I am Bhushan. My question is that when you started preparing for data science, means languages basically, and which languages are important?
I think if you know Python, that's enough. Most
Okay.
companies these days use Python, I think.
And I also hear about the language R. R is
You can
also
learn R
important.
too, but I think a lot of companies, most of the companies use Python, I think.
And
Yeah,
about academia, how much CGPA is required?
I don't. In academia, you mean? If you want to go for a
Yeah.
PhD,
No, no, like job places.
okay,
CGPA doesn't matter or not.
it wouldn't matter so much, but it's better if you have at least some average CGPA, at least decent one. Like I know a senior, I think he was many years senior to me from IISER Pune. He works as a lead data scientist in a pretty good company, and his CGPA was pretty low, below six. So I would say CGPA doesn't matter, but it will just if you have at least like 7.58, it's just fine. Below that, it might harm you. Above that, it won't really help you so much.
Okay. And which courses you did on Coursera?
Uh, I tried out this IBM certification that was there on Coursera. I didn't really like it, so it's better you don't look at it. But there was this Washington as well. There was a specialization by Washington on machine learning. I did the first course there, that was nice. Then I did a lot of data camp courses. So if you have your IISER ID, you can get 3 months of data camp for free. And I learned a lot of data science from there. In fact, my first introduction to NLP, deep learning, and all these things were from data camp. So that was nice too.
Okay.
If you want to learn SQL, then there are a lot of other sites. For example, SQL Zoo is there. I think which is the best site for SQL, at least for beginner SQL.
Okay. And which courses from academia will be helpful for data scientists? Like math is most important, I think. But along with that, which other
Uh,
courses?
I think if you know data science, linear algebra, these basic courses, that's all you need.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, you might end up in a situation where other courses might also help you. For example, when I was applying to Safe Security, the guy who was interviewing me, he asked me a lot of complex analysis questions. I have no idea why he asked me. And I hadn't taken complex analysis so seriously when I studied it. So I got stuck there and I just told him I don't remember much here. So yeah,
From which help you got from IISER Pune for data scientists? Because now IISER is starting new department, na? Artificial
yeah.
intelligence and data science.
That started after I left ISA, so actually I don't have much idea about it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So some questions from chat basically. Sorry. So there is a question. What did you learn from life at IISER? I would. Yeah. What did you learn from life at IISER?
I think it's very general,
Right. Yeah.
so I
It's
don't know
very
what
fun.
to say. But I think I enjoyed my time in Pune. It
Right.
was fun. I
Right.
wish I had studied a bit more, worked a bit harder, but that's fine.
Right.
It would just have made my life a bit more easy.
So I can ask this question from here. So you have like lived a life at IISER and now you're living a life in this corporate world. So how much of a difference do you feel like in the kind of culture and kind of people you encounter and sort of things.
Yeah, I think the culture is pretty different. I mean, your focus changes, right? In at ICER, it's more about research stuff, but when you go to corporate, it's more about uh, producing. Like I'm not sure how to put it. Mm,
Have more
it's like
pressure on output.
uh, I think it gets more monotonous. I would say
Okay.
it's
Okay.
not so intellectual usually unless so I'm not sure how it is like in let's say good companies, for example Amazon, and the roles there,
Hmm.
and the roles vary a lot, right? There
Right.
are other startups I think which would offer a better role, so I'm not sure about that.
Right.
But I think usually they can be pretty boring, the jobs in corporate.
Mhm.
I mean, you will learn a lot in the first few months, then it will get monotonous. So I have been here at Safe Security for 3 months. I think I would learn some stuff more in the next 2 3 months. That's all. I don't think I'll be learning any more after that. It will be monotonous after that. The
So
projects will change. I will still be doing different things, but the learning, I think, will stop there.
so you will learn some concepts and some technical things, and that will be used in various ways to give various kind of outputs.
Yeah, yeah. So let's say if I'm learning AWS right now, my boss has asked me to get a certification the next month or the next to next month. So I'm still learning stuff, right? I'm still so
Right.
let's say if I'm learning AWS, I need to know a lot of cloud computing or networking and so on, the computer science networking and so on. So I'm still learning stuff, but after that, I think it will get a bit monotonous. That's
Okay.
what I feel. I mean, if so that's why I think a lot of people go for a PhD, let's say in statistics or something similar, let's say computer science too, and probably they might get a more researchy role even in corporate, but then I'm not really sure. And that is one of the reasons why I want to go for further studies
Right.
because I want to do something more researchy.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Shushruta asked, it would be really helpful if you could mention some good courses on Coursera or other platforms for data science. I think he mentioned a few of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Data camp is really good. I would suggest to try that out.
Okay.
If you have you have an IISER ID, so you will get 3 months for free. You
Hmm.
can just look it up.
Hmm.
And yeah, deeplearning.ai is very good as well. I
Hmm.
did some NLP courses over there.
Okay.
And yeah, you can try out the Washington's machine learning specialization too. I have just done one course there, but you can try that out. That one course was good.
So I would ask a couple of questions on this. So the first question is, yeah, I think online courses would be really good in terms of how much we will learn new. I would also want to ask, does that also improve your CV, and if yes, how much?
It wouldn't directly improve your CV. The courses you learn, I mean, even if you put them on your CV, no one will really look at that. Rather, they will look at the projects you have done, the dummy projects.
Right.
Let's say if you have worked on some data set and you have put on some analysis on GitHub and then put that on your CV, that would look really nice. Because if you're going for an interview, you can talk about that project and what you learned in that project rather than a course. The thing with courses is you can get the solutions online, everything, you can cheat there easily. But
Hmm.
that doesn't work so easily when you're doing some projects. So that's why when you're applying for jobs, they value projects more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Garvit asked, you mentioned that connections help in applying for jobs. Are connection more helpful for startups and less for big companies, or vice versa?
No, I mean, they are helpful everywhere. The thing is, at big companies, you wouldn't even get an interview because so many people apply there, right? So if you have connections, they can give you referrals and you can get interviews. But then the thing is, a lot of companies wouldn't take freshers without, I mean, outside the campus placement. So you might have a disadvantage there. So that's where startups help in the sense that uh, if you have if you know, let's say, the CEO of the startup, you can directly go talk to him on LinkedIn or somewhere and directly uh, pitch what you want to do there. So if you connect with a lot of, let's say, startup founders and so on LinkedIn and talk to them directly, that really helps. So this is what I did a lot when I was applying for jobs.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Uh,
connections are helpful to get the interview.
right. Jaydeep asks, I know some statistical theory. What else do I need to do to get a job?
He's doing a PhD in stats. I would like to ask him that.
Okay, fine. Uh, okay. Uh, right. Right. Yeah. Can we take up internships related to DS and ML while in college?
Yeah, why not? That's helpful, right?
Yeah.
Like a batchmate of mine, he worked as a data scientist intern at one of the startups just next to IISER actually.
Okay.
And so when he was here, he introduced me to the CEO of that startup. The startup is called Battery Pool. It's just next to IISER. And he introduced me to the CEO and I talked to him and he just referred me there. So that helped as well. So I mean, if you have done internships, you have already proven yourself, right? Because they want, let's say, if there's some company, they would like to hire people who have already shown their work, right? And internships are good places to show that.
Right.
So that's really helpful.
Right. Right. right.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I wish I had done, but it's okay.
So, yeah, is doing another post graduation in DS helpful to compensate lack of campus placement?
Uh, Personally, I mean, if you're doing it in India itself, if you want to stay in India, then I would say it's not really, it wouldn't matter much. If you're spending 2 years in some MS program in India, like let's say some master's program, you can just compensate by working 2 years more, right? I
Hmm.
don't think it should be
Right.
a problem because I think experience matters a lot.
Right. Yeah, that's what you're saying from the beginning. Right? Experience matters a lot.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if you let's say if you get into IIT Bombay or some nice place,
Hmm.
and there you can get awesome placements, then I don't know. Then it might be different. But in general, I would say experience matters more.
Right. Right. Yeah. So what's your future like? You were talking about masters. Like, have you decided how will you go about it? Anything?
Yeah, currently I'm thinking I'll be going for statistics masters,
Hmm.
and let's say in the US or Canada, one of them.
Hmm.
I'll be applying this year, so for the next year.
Right. In
And
the next
if
cycle,
I,
yeah.
yeah, probably I can continue it with a PhD. I'm not sure. I'll see.
Right.
So that's the
So,
plan.
so that's also one thing which I think is also an option for those like so I like people who are considering jobs after a fifth year is basically to explore a corporate world for some time, and then you don't like it, then you go for academia again.
Yeah,
Basically,
that
like
was my
IISER.
intention in going for a job first. I wanted to see if I like this,
Mhm.
and if not, then I'll again go for further studies.
Right. Can we get a job at Google without doing engineering?
I have no idea. I mean, you can do statistics and go for a job at Google, but I don't know what kind of jobs they have in India. I think they just have one or two offices in India,
Right.
so
Yeah.
there are very less hirings anyways.
Okay.
Four, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have other questions, you can just ask me directly.
Yeah, yeah, I mean that's what I would also encourage. I mean I would also like to see people talking.
Yeah, so for example, if someone is already doing some internship, has done some internship, or
Right.
something like that, so has done some project, I would like to hear as well.
Right.
So, you are doing some data science job. So, so you are planning to do PhD right now, right?
I'm
So,
not sure. I'll go for a master's, and if I want to do a PhD, I'll continue with a PhD.
okay. So, is it advisable to do job, corporate job first, then go for PhD? Is it like good experience?
I mean, it depends on what you want to do, right? For example, I am pretty sure I don't want to end up in academia. Even if I go for a PhD, I will still go for a job again after that. So I wanted to see the kind of jobs that are in India, and then if I don't like it, I thought I'll go for more studies. And another reason for going for more studies was I thought I'll get a better role. Let's say if I have a PhD, more researchy role, and that was my intention. So
So,
it
what?
depends on what you want to do, I would say.
So, what is your experience as of now in your corporate world?
Uh, I think the corporate life in India is pretty exhausting, I would say. They make you work a lot, like
Okay,
way too much.
okay,
And of course, it depends on the company. At my first company, I would work very less, like let's say 3 4 hours a day. That's all. It was pretty less. But now that I've joined a much bigger company, they make you work a lot. And this is the general perception that I have seen
mhm,
from people in India that uh, that there's a lot of work pressure. I mean, you don't have so much of course, if you compare it with, let's say, when I was in IISER, uh, the thing I used to feel bad about was even if you do something else apart from studying, there's this guilt at the back of your mind. Why am I not studying right now? Why am I not working on my thesis? And so on.
mhm,
So compared to that, I think I am still in a better place because after I sign out of at my work, I can just ignore it after that, unless my boss calls me. So there are all these things. The work life is kind of bad in India, I would say.
mhm.
So that's there, yeah. Yeah, so Hitesh asked me if I miss number theory. Not actually, not so much. Uh, okay, so was there anything specific you told employers in interviews as a reason for shifting from pure math to data science? I just told that I wanted to do something more applied, and I didn't want to continue in academia. And I think most of them bought it. They didn't find it weird or anything. Because anyways, when you talk to someone in corporate, they feel weird that someone is who can work in industry is working in academia and is studying all his life, not earning so much. So I think they just buy it straight away. That oh, you wanted to shift to corporate, makes sense.
Okay. Hmm. So there is this thing as well, right? Key in this. So in data science, I think a lot of people keeps changing the jobs basically. Like you also change from like
I
in
think that works not just in data science, but I think
any.
this is something specific about technology in
Okay.
general, the
Yeah.
IT industry.
Hmm.
Like even if you look at the software dev people, they keep on job hopping a lot too.
Right. Right. Like that's not your plan. You think this? I mean, your experience won't change much.
Mm, I think it is good to job hop, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So unless, so for example, currently I'm working in the startup and it's growing very fast. Like just last week they raised a $33 million funding.
Oh,
So unless you have these kind of scenarios where your startup is just booming at the moment and the opportunities inside the company itself are large, unless you have those opportunities, I think it's better to job up a lot in your at the beginning of your career. It boosts your package, and then you kind of get to work on different kind of roles. For example, my first role was more of data science plus business. Right now, my role is data science plus software dev.
mhm.
So I get to, and both of my roles are totally different to each other. They're complementary.
Right. Yeah. So you learn a lot, and yeah, it helps your packages as well.
Yeah. So
Uh,
for example, right now when I change my job, I think I got my package increased to 2.5 times.
Amazing.
So these things are also there.
Right.
Yeah, I think
So
it's just better to job
so
hop.
isn't like so that's a huge increment. So does this like then there are increments in the jobs as well, right? I mean, we observe this pattern of people staying stuck at one kind of
Yeah,
job and enjoying the increments. So is there a difference over here in this
it
field?
depends on the company, right?
Right.
I mean, I think in startups it's a good thing to stay, depending on the startup, of course.
Right.
For example, in my current company, I've seen people who joined as freshers, and in 3 years they became the vice president, 3 or 4 years. So it depends on the company.
Right.
I think in large companies you won't get these benefits, but you get these benefits in the smaller companies,
Right.
in the smaller and growing companies.
Right. Yeah, someone was asking something, I guess. So really.
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah, hi Bhushan.
Okay. I am hearing that there is a very less number of data scientist job in India, like 1 to 2%. What do you think? What will be the future of data science?
I'm not sure. I can't predict anything, but I think it's a booming field. You shouldn't have any problem. It has a good future. You shouldn't worry about it.
And also, can we got to know that what was your first package?
It was bad. It was 4.2 actually.
Uh,
I got it during the first COVID lockdown, right?
yeah,
So I just made do with whatever I could find. But
yeah,
during my second job, it was better. Now it's 10, so it's much better than what it was before.
yeah.
Yeah. I think this is the disadvantage I was talking about, right? Because if you have campus placements, you end up getting a better package. But if you are looking for jobs on your own, then it gets pretty difficult.
Hmm. I would again ask if there is, there are people who would like to unmute and ask. I mean, yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be like I am speaking. That's why, like, somebody else is not speaking. So yeah.
Is there any campus placement? I mean, I don't see. I'm not able to heard that there is any companies coming for campus placement and all. So, in your time, was there any campus? Was there any company to come for campus placement?
I think there was just one or two companies. Phenolex had come, but they didn't hire anyone. Actually, they came again a year later, and I had applied then, even though I passed out from IISER, and then they hired me. But then I didn't like it, so I didn't go. So there are campus placements, but not really. You shouldn't count on it.
Okay.
Right now, I think they have still done something, right? In your final year, you can do some projects in startups.
Right. Yeah.
Like I heard some juniors of mine, they had done it and then they converted it to full-time jobs. You can do those things at least. But yeah, it's not proper campus placements. So because in the engineering colleges, for example, they have campus placements. They just hire you. You
Mhm.
don't do it. You don't have to do any internship or anything. Yeah, so
Yeah,
we
I
do
think
need that.
it is more of a internship sort of placement. It's not exactly like job sort of thing.
Yeah, it's internship, but then you can convert it into full time, right? Like one of my juniors, he just graduated this year and he converted it into full time in Pune itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can do all those things. I mean, if you have any kind of industrial experience, it will help. Even if it's 1 year internship for your fifth year, that will help too. Because you have something to talk about in interviews, right? The thing that matters in interview is if you can hold a conversation and you can talk about data science and talk about things about projects and so on. Basically, they want to see if you can do the job, right? And if you have some internship experience, it helps.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Are you planning to do masters abroad? Yeah, I think you said US or
Yeah.
Europe. What do you do when you are not getting enough intellectual stimulation from your job?
These days, not much.
Right.
I think I had to study a lot when I was switching my job, so I had to work a lot that time. And these days, because I've switched my job and I have to pick up a lot of software dev work,
Uh-huh.
so it ends up consuming a lot of my time. But yeah, you can do all kinds of things. Right? You can read books, you can watch nice videos or whatever. Yeah,
Hello, Nikhil.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, so since you have lived full 5 year ISER life, so how would you describe the difficulty as one progresses through multiple years at ISER? Like I am in first year, so you have lived 5 years. So how does the difficulty in the academia increases as
Yeah.
we progress?
I think the first and second year were very chill for me. There was work, but it was still fine. Third and fourth year get progressively heavier, and you have a lot of work in third and fourth year. And since I had taken math, the final year was kind of chill too because it was just theory, right? I just had to read some book and present to my prof, and that's all. But if you are working in, let's say, chemistry or bio, where you have to go to the lab, then it gets very hectic. So it depends on your major too. Yeah. Like for
Yeah.
example, I have seen that some people might disagree, but I have seen that chemistry and bio people are still comparatively more free, at least in terms of coursework. They do have a lot of lab work. I agree with that. But I think math and theoretical physics people get very busy in the third and fourth year. Yeah.
Yes, it is true.
So it depends on your major too. But yeah, for example, my final year was very free. I told my advisor straight away when I was starting my thesis that I wanted to switch to data science and I was not interested in going for a PhD in pure math, and he was fine with it. So he was like, just somehow pass the thesis, just be fine here, and then you can do whatever you wish. So he didn't pressure me much there. So I had a nice time in my final year. Yeah. If you have something more specific, you can ask that too.
How much hours do you need to work in a week? How is the overall work-life balance?
Do you mean in the job?
Yeah, in the job, I guess. Yeah.
Uh, since it's work from home right now, a lot of times I just slack off. I would say a lot of time is gone in meetings, right? So if you count that as work too, then I would say 7 or 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Usually, I don't work on the weekends. Sometimes I have to, but usually that's not the case.
Hmm.
So let's say 7 8 hours a day.
Hmm.
And the thing is, it's not concentrated. It's not just like I sign in at 9 a.m. and then I end up at 5 p.m. That's not how it works. Let's say I don't work for 2 hours during the lunch break, or I don't have like I didn't have so much work, but then they gave me some new work towards the afternoon, so I had to work towards the night too. Or let's say there is some last moment meeting that happens at 11 p.m. because the meeting is with someone in the US, and according to their timeline, you have to have a meeting at in the night. So you have all these kinds of things too.
Right. But this is true only because it's work from home, right? Otherwise, like you, I don't think you have got a chance to work, or did
Yeah,
you?
I haven't gone to the office even once. I
Right.
think that's good. Because I feel that if I go to work in the office, it will be more work.
Right.
Because now I can slack off and no one gets to know. If I'm going to the office, then I can't. I'm not sure how it will be like, but I think I won't be able to slack off so much. Right now, I can just quickly do my work and then chill after that.
Right.
That's why I can do less work, right? If I'm in the office, everyone can see me.
Yeah. If you're free, let's give you more work.
Yeah, I don't know how it is like, but I feel this will be the case.
Hmm. Right. That's true.
Yeah, and let's say if I want to sign out, I can just sign out late and not work for a couple of hours before that, provided I finish my work. So I can do all kinds of things. So I think I like work from home. Though the thing is, since I am new to this corporate world and I haven't even stepped into the office even once, it kind of does harm as well, because a lot of times then there are communication issues, right? Because in corporate life you have to collaborate a lot with a lot of different teams. So for example, I have to collaborate with a software dev team, with the platforms team, or with the customer success team, and so on. And in the beginning you wouldn't even know what it means. What does customer success team do, and what does a platform team do? And let's say if they are working in JavaScript, and I have no idea about JavaScript, and last month they asked me to fix some issues in Jenkins, which is some software stuff, and it was totally in JavaScript, and I don't know JavaScript, so I have to collaborate a lot, right? And then it gets easier if you are in the office. You can
Right.
just go and talk to people, and then just show them this is where I'm stuck. But if you're at home, you have to set up a meeting, and I think that involves some resistance.
Yeah, that's very resistive. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I would still prefer work from home.
Hmm.
I would rather communicate better and learn to communicate than to go and work in the office and get stuck in the Bangalore traffic for 2 hours every day.
That's true.
Okay, so I have heard in many software engineer interviews, um, uh, mostly data structure and algorithms are asked to the students.
Yeah.
So in data science, how much this is important?
I've never been asked either of them, not even algorithm or data structure. They asked me a lot of machine learning questions, Python questions, pandas and NumPy questions, some math questions. For example, one guy asked me some complex business questions. In my previous job, they asked me some dashboarding, some normal bar plot and such questions, and so on. So more of data science stuff. But then it
Oh,
depends on the company and the role too. So, for example, if it's a more statistical kind of a role, for example, I was also applying to a more statistical analyst kind of a role, and I ended up not interviewing there. But for example, if I interviewed there, they would have asked me specifically statistics questions. So it also depends on the role and the company. You can always look up these things on Glassdoor, for example. Yeah. For example, when I applied for Phenolex, there was just one round, and it was kind of a hand wavy round. They just asked me what I had done at my previous job. They were happy that my work was kind of relevant to the work they asked me. They would ask me to do there. So that was it. No data science around at all. So
Okay.
it also depends. So that's where actually placements help, right? Because Phenolex had come to IISER, right? And they had this collaboration, right? And that's why it was kind of hand wavy and it ended up there. But when I applied to safe security, I had to give 5 rounds. So there is so much difference when we have campus placements.
So in your first job, can I ask what's the level of knowledge that's required? So is it like a basic course on Python, or it's so so what's the level of questions that are asked in, say, let's say Python or about any other?
It depends, right? Because it was a more of there was data science stuff, but it was a lot of business stuff as well, right? So it was my exact role was called full stack data scientist because they asked me to work on business stuff as well and data science stuff as well and dashboarding things as well. So it was very varied, and that's why I could go there without knowing a lot of, let's say, deep learning. I had, I think I had just learned deep learning when I applied to that job. Like a couple of weeks or so back, I had no introduction to deep learning at all.
Hmm.
So that didn't hinder me. But let's say if you are applying to a company that focuses on deep learning or NLP, then it will be a problem if you don't know those stuff. So it totally depends on the role.
Right, right. That's true.
Sure.
Right, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. I mean,
How many different places you apply for?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
How many different places you applied for job before getting your first job?
For the first one, I have no idea. Definitely in hundreds. I would just apply to 10, 20 every single day. The thing was, it was the very first lockdown, right? The 3 months long lockdown. And I was applying for a job at the start of that lockdown. So it was very difficult. But when it was about my second job, then it was pretty much easier. I think in during my second job, I'm not sure, but I think I would have applied to a few dozens of companies. I got around 5 interviews and I got into two of them. So it gets much easier as you progress. After you have your first job, then it gets much easier. You just have to learn stuff, be good at communication, do well in communication in the interviews and so on. It will be much easier after that. Yeah, the trajectory is good. And IISER Pune background also helps you.
And how many different courses you done during third and fourth year, other than academic?
I didn't do so much like I talked about, right? I did this IBM specialization on Coursera on data science, and then I did some data camp courses, but that was after I submitted my thesis. And then I did a specialization on Tableau to learn some dashboarding stuff. Then I learned some SQL, but that was too after I submitted my thesis. So not so much. I just got lucky, I think, that the role involved a lot of business stuff. So I could get away with not knowing, let's say, deep learning and so on. I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Sorry. How much time we got during third and fourth year for doing other steps?
I didn't do much during third and fourth year. I just did that IBM specialization. That was all. Then I started doing it again during my final year because, as I said, I had a lot of free time during my final year. Yeah. But
right.
ideally, I would say that you should at least know these basic stuff like NLP, deep learning, and so on, and have like at least two good projects on your CV. That would really help.
Right.
And networking is super important. So you should talk to the IISER people who are in data science, not just IISER Pune, other IISERs. Talk to NICER people, talk to IISc people, talk to any people you can find on LinkedIn and so on. And I think most of them do help out. Like one, I think he was from IISER Pune or Bhopal, and he gave me a whole roadmap to applying for a job and learn what all to learn the
Oh,
next couple of
amazing.
months. So if you talk to people, it helps a lot.
Right.
Also connect with a lot of talent acquisition people, HR people, and so on LinkedIn, and just directly ask them if they have some opening in the company. If you are, like for example, I was targeting this management consulting company called Mu Sigma, and I got to directly talk to a guy who worked in the office of the CEO, but unfortunately he said that they had just frozen hiring for the next few months because of COVID. But yeah, these things help because you get an interview, right? The problem that happens is you don't get interviews so easily, at least in the big companies. So that's where the problem is. So
Right.
if you network a lot And that's where the internships help too. So if you have done some internship in some company during your BSMS, that helps too because you have already started having some networks, right? You already have some network in industry, and that helps a lot.
Right.
Yeah. Even if those people refer, let's say if you have worked in some company and your manager there refers you for your job, that helps a lot.
Hmm.
I mean, my batchmate had done an internship, right, and he referred me to that company and he directly gave me an interview. It helps so much. Even if I had not done an internship, my friend had done an internship and he did a good job and he referred me.
Hmm.
So that's why network helps so much.
So there is one thing which I would like to ask is there is so since you are talking about this references, so in academia where we know the most important thing is our guide ka reference.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, does that really help you here? I mean, how much does that
If your
like?
prof has contacts, that's helpful. Let's say let's say if you are let's say for example, if your prof has contacts in the industry in India, that helps a lot.
Okay,
He can directly hook you up with some people who are in the industry.
right.
That can directly give you interviews as well. Like for example, one of my seniors, he did his fifth year in Singapore, and his prof there had contacts in Singapore, right, in the industry. He directly got a job there.
Oh, amazing.
So these things help a lot.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
And we basically, so I'm in my fifth year, so we like so the most of the time what we are doing is finding some research paper, reading it, finding, going to some other reference, reading it, and searching things and reading it. It's kind of very active kind of thing. How much is that component in your life? I mean, is that kind of yeah,
Mm,
research, let's say, component?
there is some research component, but not at the moment. Right now, for example, we have to, in the near future, we have to, for example, revamp our whole model, right? The machine learning model that we have. So for that, I'll have to do some research work. Currently, like for example, as I mentioned earlier, that the PhD guy and I are learning some Bayesian statistics together. So there is all this stuff, but it totally depends on your role. So I think most of the roles wouldn't have a research component actually. Or even if there is some research component, it will be reading research papers and just implementing them. That's all.
Okay.
Not really doing something, some research work. Yeah, rather than implementing stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Sure.
What are your views about the online data science and programming course that is offered by IIT Madras?
I have no idea. I haven't done them, so I can't comment on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyone else has some question?
Did you take any special preparations for the interviews, like reading up before the interviews?
Uh, so when I was preparing for the interviews, uh, the preparation was applying for a lot of jobs and getting a lot of interviews, right? So if I mess up in some interview, I could just use that to do better in the other interviews. That was all I did. Yeah, that was all actually. Actually, this is where IISER people also have a disadvantage, right? Because all these engineering colleges, they have a dedicated placement cell, and they prepare you for this placement interviews and so on. And this is where we lag behind. Yeah. I mean, I don't really have so much idea about this, but yeah, it will help if you prepare for the interviews. Because I was not thinking of going for a job till 2 months before I was about to graduate, right? And that's why I never really prepared much. But it does help if you are preparing in advance.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you can just go into good companies and good roles, so it will definitely help.
Can you comment on
Can
how?
we use? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So, like Atharvas, can you comment on how to get summer internships in corporate? Like how to get internships, how to get it?
Just connect with people on LinkedIn. If you are applying to a startup, just connect to the CEO there. If it's a relatively smaller startup, And if it's a big company, just talk to the talent acquisition team, connect with the data scientists in that team, and just directly message them if they have summer internship programs for college students. Just directly talk to people. That's all I would say. Talk to anyone you can find on LinkedIn. And if you have personal contacts, that's even better. If you have some senior, or let's say if you have some friend and who works in one of the companies you're targeting, so that's nice too. Yeah, so networking is all you need there basically.
Yeah, go ahead, Push.
Yeah, thank you. Can you
Bhushan,
choose a
you had a
different
question?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Can you hear? Can we choose a different
Yeah,
applied subject during our ESMS? Because I don't want to
who
specialize
said
in
that?
particular one. I want.
I didn't get your question actually.
Yeah. I don't want to specialize in a particular subject. Can I choose a different applied subject during my
Oh,
BSMS?
what do you mean by applied subject?
Like linear algebra or applied physics courses or polymer chemistry.
I mean, yeah, you can always do that, right? Just find a prof who is interested in that, interested in offering the thesis on that. Yeah, I mean, IISER or
Our
outside
major
IISER.
does our major degree depends on what project we are doing in last year.
Um, I'm not sure about this. I think it depends on the. I think they have this rule that you should have done at least 100 credits in in your major subject. I'm not sure. I think it's better to talk to administration about this.
Okay.
Since I had done most of my courses in math, I didn't have to think about this. So you would know.
Or did you choose a different courses other than math?
I had some bio courses, some HSS courses, and so on, but mostly they were math courses.
Okay. What was your minor subject?
I didn't have a minor. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Anyone else has any other question?
Okay, so since you said like that you've done a bunch of online courses, once you decided that you are having a little bit of interest in data science, how did you manage your time when you were saying your third or fourth year? Were you doing online courses back then too? I'm just asking because I don't find time to do anything else, even when I want to
Yeah, I
try.
mean, I used to do some courses during the weekends. That's all I could manage during my third year. During my fourth year, I didn't do anything because I couldn't find any time at all. And then I started again during my final year because then I had some time then. So yeah, I mean, I can understand that you don't find so much time during your third and fourth year. I mean,
Yeah,
just a bit of it even helps. Even if you do like couple of hours a week, even that's fine. At least you are learning over time, right?
yeah, that explains.
Actually, that's the case with me even now, right? Because and that doesn't stop even in IISER, right? Even when you go for a job, you still have to learn a lot of stuff because the data science roles vary a lot. For example, like I was saying, I had to do some work on JavaScript the last month, and I had to pick up some JavaScript, and you just have to do it all the time. So even along with the bad work-life balance in India, you have to learn new stuff as well, right? So yeah, you have to keep on doing all this. Like my boss asked me to get an AWS certification next month. So I have to somehow get time to learn some AWS as well. So you always have to manage this. Yeah. Uh, any other question?
yes. Any other questions? Okay. Right. So I don't think yeah anybody has any questions.
Yeah, maybe we can wrap up then. You can always reach out to me on email or LinkedIn. So I'm
Right.
always open to questions there.
Right. Yeah, yeah. He is always available. Like he replies quickly as well. Yeah. Okay. So I am still waiting. I am still waiting if there is a question. But okay, so yeah, I think we can yeah. So thanks a lot, Nikhil. I mean, it was amazing. Like I know when I reached you, you just immediately agreed. So thanks a lot for your time. I know you are very busy, and best of luck for your future endeavors. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's okay.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thanks a lot to everyone who attended. Thanks a lot, Nikhil, for your time. Thanks a lot, Akash. So I hope you all had a nice weekend or a good summer break, or you are prepared well for your chemistry exam. Thank you, everyone.